Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Racha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And I wanted to highlight something that I saw in this article here. Found it pretty interesting, though not too surprising, but pretty interesting. And this is an article from Zero Hedge. I was reading it, this morning, and it's entitled "Welcome to 2025, Where Your Freedoms Go to Die." Now, in here, it's subsections of the different things that, and it's not just like a random anticipation, but more so the trends and the direction in which the government is already going in, and what we can see possibly from that this year as it continues. So the point that's being made here is, regardless of who's in office, the main agenda, the high level agenda, still stays the same. Cool. So there's a quote here: "There is no greater tyranny than that which is perpetrated under the shield of the law and in the name of justice," by Montesquieu, Enlightenment philosopher. So, wondering what to expect from the government in 2025. So far, it looks like it will be more of the same ill-advised, costly, greedy, taxpayer-funded, dunder-headed power grabs, saber-rattling, graft, corruption, and make-works programming that leaves us no better off than we were than where we started. Indeed, we have been down this road so many times before that there should be no surprise when, no matter who occupies the White House, we find ourselves subjected to more of the same when it comes to the erosion of civil liberties and the increasing power of the government and its corporate partners in crime. And so what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to read every single section here. I've already read through it, so I'm just going to jump to the important parts, and I'll link the article as a comment so you can go through every part if you would like. So, digital prisons, right? And there is a part in here that's really the interesting part, that that I'm gonna jump to in a second, but it's related here. So, digital prisons. Unceasingly, the government, or I was like, is that supposed to increasingly? Unceasingly, the government and its corporate partners are pushing for a national digital ID system. Local police agencies have already been given access to facial recognition software and databases containing billions of images, the precursor to a digital ID. Eventually, a digital ID will be required to gain access to all aspects of life: government, work, travel, healthcare, financial services, shopping, etc. Before long, biometrics, iris scans, face print, voice, DNA, etc. will become the de facto digital ID. So it's moving, and it's moving in that direction to where now the digital ID becomes the new norm. And the way you identify or verify is via biometrics. And you'll see how it becomes the new norm, similar to how they're, I mean, I think Metro cards are still there, if I'm not mistaken. But now everywhere you go, there's the Omni, right? The little digital devices, the way to pay your fare. And when it first started coming through, it was like, oh shoot, what's this? And now it's like a norm. People already know how it works, right? So what they did was, by upgrading the infrastructure, you sort of are, limited in your options, and then eventually you have no option but to use it. So it starts off being new, then eventually it's like, okay, what is this? It's everywhere. Then it's like, okay, what happened to the old system? And now you're sort of stuck having to use this. So imagine going somewhere and there is no, I don't know, enter your PIN or any of that. It's just a fingerprint scanner, or a voice, whatever, or your face scan, iris scan, whatever. those are sort of the devices that are there. And so you basically pick one or use the one they've provided. You're wondering, well, where's the key and the lock, and ain't none of that, right? Maybe you go to move out, right? And you're trying to rent a new place, and you get there and the main door is like, there's no key, there's no lock, there's no nothing over there. It's just like some, you know, camera and some digital pad, right, on the door, and it just tells you like tap here, and then it's like scan. So when you see something like that, you don't have a choice. If you really want to move into that place, you just have to register your biometrics, and from then, anytime you want to get in that building, that's sort of how you get in. And just like that, you're sort of pushed to go ahead and do it, unless you want to go and find another building. But what if most buildings starts doing that? Then you start to see how they indirectly sort of back you into that corner where you're like, shit, either sleep outside or go and do these biometric registrations, at these places. That was just an example. But the composition of this article is done in such a way to show this is the direction they're headed in. This is what they've been doing. This is what they're leading up to. And this is what you might see in 2025 based on how they're pushing or inching towards it. Now, we have pre-crime here, which I think is also interesting. We can go into that. But the main part here that sort of jumped out at me was this tracking CHIPs for citizens. And it says here, momentum is building for corporations and the government alike to be able to track the populace, whether through the use of RFID CHIPs embedded in a national ID card, microscopic CHIPs embedded in one's skin, or tags in retail products. You see, now when I read this, yeah, we know that, this part especially, right? It's prophecy, right? It's coming. But for an individual, right, let's say the author of this article, to sort of just compose that, right, just who composed this article, sure, just throw that out there, like, yeah, that's, basically, if you're looking at things that you can possibly expect based on how the government is moving, then yeah, you can see, these RFID CHIPs, these microscopic CHIPs embedded in people, as though it's just something normal. Like if you were to ask somebody, oh, based on how technology is going, what could you expect to see? And then they start throwing these things out there, right? And the reason that was interesting is because, a lot of people for some time, made it seem as though this CHIP, the prophecy of Revelation 13:16, was something that was very far-fetched. It was something that wasn't realistic. It wasn't, it didn't seem like a thing that would happen in their lifetime. But now you hear it being thrown out, like going to the grocery store and looking on the shelf and seeing a crate of eggs, and that's not surprising. It's just like, yeah, that's what you would expect to see over there. So it's becoming the world is becoming so technocratic that seeing these things, hearing about this kind of technology, coupled with other biometric kinds of technology, privacy invasion technologies, that's normal to hear now. And just as normal as it is to hear, eventually it'll become the norm to see and to live with. Okay, so it goes to show you just how close we are to where normal people are just mentioning this, like, oh yeah, this is something that you can expect to see as it is mentioned. Momentum is building for both corporations and governments to sort of go in this direction. So the end of the day, prophecy doesn't lie. You can't get around it. It's gonna happen. If you decide to just sit and not do anything, guess what? It will still come and meet you, because time waits for no man. Now I want to jump back up, and I want to just hit a few more of these sections here, which are very important, and that'll lead me into that precept that I have over there. So pre-crime, right? Under the pretext of helping overwhelmed government agencies work more efficiently, AI, predictive, and surveillance technologies are being used to classify, segregate, and flag the populace with little concern for privacy rights due process. Yep. And they're going to make use of all those Instagram videos, all those TikTok videos, all those Snapchat filters, right? Guess what? You when you take those pictures, right? And you send it, if you use Snapchat, you take a picture and you send that picture to somebody, right? It's on Snapchat. Okay, cool. Nice and dandy, right? And you notice that picture is not immediately in your gallery. Unless you save it from your Snapchat to your camera roll, it's within Snapchat. You open Snapchat and it's over there if you don't unsave it. Where do you think the picture is actually stored so that every time you open Snapchat, you can see that picture? Guess what? It's on Snapchat servers. When you send a picture, you look for a picture or you take a picture on Snapchat and you post it or you send it to somebody else, that's on Snapchat servers so that the other person who wants to see it can then see it and get it from their servers. The point being, yes, Snapchat might not keep your content on their servers for all of eternity, right? They might so-called delete it, as they say, at some point, but how do you know what they're doing with it for that brief period of time that it is on their servers, right? It's no surprise that a lot of these social media platforms have been in cahoots with like FBI agencies and alphabet groups, and I mean like the secret those government agencies, right? And even private companies that buy these information. They buy this data, because money talks, right? So you may post something and, oh yeah, 24 hours later it's gone. But while it was on their servers, maybe they sold some data about it or about you to X, Y, and Z. Maybe some AI company, maybe some law enforcement database. So then they have all this information and, not that maybe they care so much about what kind of picture you're sending, but if you have your face in there, they can utilize that. They can store all of that in a database. They can train AI models with all these pictures, all these images, different kinds of pictures where you have filters on, where you have a hat on, where you have a mask on, to where the AI algorithm is able to detect who you are, regardless of what your face looks like, what filter you have on, what mask you have on. And so now when they are looking for you, it's much easier to find you. If they suspect you of something and they're like, track this person, tap into every camera, public camera, whatever that's around this area, and scan and look for this facial recognition, right? Guess what? Now that they're now that they're going to be using AI, if they haven't already started, look at how much faster and easier it's going to be to do that. It's not going to be a human person that's looking and clicking and scan through here like they show in the movies, the cops, right? They're in the back, they're like, oh, right there, boom, boom, pause, zoom in on his face, do something to make it clearer. AI is doing all that, and it's doing it in nanoseconds. So next thing you know, Bing cops already found your ass on the I-97 or whatever, I-98, whatever interstate you're on, and you're like, how the hell did they find you? Well, there's all that AI. So using this AI, that's why I mentioned here, with no concern for your privacy rights. I just wanted to give an example like that they have those databases with tons and tons of data that they use to train these AI models, and then they can utilize that to build certain software and be able to gain that access. So anyway, it says all of this sorting, sifting, and calculating is being done swiftly, secretly, and incessantly with the help of AI technology and a surveillance state that monitors your every move. Similar to one of the scenes out of the Gray State trailer, where they were in their house watching TV and then they're being watched because there's literally a camera in their home. Well, you may say, that's crazy. They would never be able to do such a thing in America. I'm not going to let them put a camera in my home. And yet you went and bought a TV that is able to look at your hand position and move the cursor on the screen accordingly. What do you think it's using to do that? You bought a TV that you press a button and then you can speak to it and then it can execute your command, right? How does it hear you? Yeah, it's a microphone, right? And there's a camera in there. And some TVs, you don't know that it has a camera in there. Or it may have a camera and you don't know that the camera's on because they can turn it on remotely and not show the little light on it. So you don't know what's going on over there. So as crazy as the scene from Gray State where they're eating and there's a little camera in their house and they're being watched, as crazy as that may seem, that's already happening today. Think about how many devices in Internet of Things. Think about how many devices you have in your house that are camera enabled. And a lot of these digital devices, this your digital refrigerator or smart lights and smart coffee makers and all of that. Guess what? Those are not as secure as you think. So let me see. Yeah, maybe I think pre-crime was a good one too, but we just read that. Mandatory cues, right? Now I got to be careful with how I word this one. So building on precedents established during the C-demic, government agents may be empowered to indefinitely detain anyone they suspect of posing a risk to others without providing an explanation, subject them to medical tests without their consent, and carry out such detentions and cues without any kind of due process or judicial review. So there goes those scenes that you see in those movies when there's some, outbreak or there's some, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, yo, that's crazy. They just dragged this person out their house. And they gave you glimpses and prelims of that, a couple years ago. Let's see. Yeah, I think yeah, this is one more good one. The militarized police, and then I'll sort of end it here. And like I said, you can keep reading it if you're interested. So having transformed local law enforcement into extensions of the military, the Department of Homeland Security, the Justice Department, and the FBI are moving into the next phase of the transformation, turning the nation's police officers into techno warriors, complete with iris scanners, body scanners, thermal imaging, Doppler radar devices, facial recognition programs, license plate readers, and they do have that, cell phone extraction software, so they can get all the information off of that, stingray devices, and so much more. This is real. And this is why whenever you watch, what is that? RoboCop? I think that was what the name of the movie. But when you watch these movies that take place years in the future, the police don't look like they do now. Right? It's not your typical navy blue hat with a badge and it's they have either these like helmets, right, that are able to show things on their face like a screen. They have these this futuristic kind of technology that can do things that you can't do now. Yeah, well, that's sort of the natural flow of what happens when technology advances, right? The way police operate now is different than at least the technology they used to operate now is different than it was, decades ago. This decade, right? But but anyway, in the future it's going to be different than it is now. So with all this going on, right, the FFs, the TAs, and I'm speaking about those, and so on and so forth, the invasion of privacies, your private property not really being private, censorship, all of these things that are going on are not going to stop because Trump is coming in. Okay, it's part of the overall agenda, and really it's part of the agenda of the Heavenly Father. So with that in mind, this is Acts 14 and 22. And just getting to the point, it reads, confirming the souls of the disciples and exhorting them to continue in the faith, and that we must, through much tribulation, enter into the kingdom of God. Because a lot of this is going to get to the point where especially when it comes to that tracking part. It's going to get to the point where you're not going to be able to comply with that. All right, there's going to be no way about it. So it's going to be very conflicting. And knowing these hard, conflicting times are coming, right, we ought to exhort one another, okay, to continue in the faith and understand that it is going to be through much tribulation that we enter into the kingdom. So expect that, pray for the best, but prepare for the west, well, yeah, the worst, and just have a ready mind. Okay, and that's why we do these lessons to warn you ahead of time, but to exhort you to know that, hey, when it does happen, don't only think about the bad things, but have that balance of knowing that the Lord is with us so long as you maintain that faith. So anyway, with that, I'm going to end it here. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Recha Kodash. And until next time, Shalom.